The truth of it is we have no control over what anyone else is going to like or not. We have to trust that whatever we're going to create is going to find the people who need to hear it, which is scary when it's your career, right?
Ramdas, welcome to the Flying Universe podcast. Such a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you so much, Ali.
Yeah, and just sharing pre-intro into this chat about how you have the gift of producing magic with others, producing music, and being in the spotlight. Well, not the spotlight, but the guide of a producer, and so many different artists, from what I understand, in your past that have come through to you. Do you want to share more about how you gravitate so many magical beings into your field, into what you create with them?
Well, I can't speak to why other people work with me. I feel blessed and lucky at everyone that I get to work with. And you know, I really put an emphasis on trying to make the recording process a beautiful experience. So it's a bit more process oriented in a lot of ways, even though I'm actually not very much a process oriented person myself when it comes to like I don't need to work things out in my life. I'm just like, if I need to change, I need to change. So it's a funny thing where my art and my actual, the way I interact with the world are different, but it really is about, cultivating the present moment, making space for something beautiful to happen, something unexpected, something, we use this word authenticity, something authentic, which I'm not actually sure what that means, but we want to bring something into the recording space that can only happen in that moment. It's almost like capturing little miracles. And the way to do that, in my opinion, is kind of to get out of the way. And to really make a safe space for whomever I'm working with to enjoy the process. So I really don't believe in the whole suffering makes good art thing. It does, it has, but we don't need to participate in it. And certainly for me, I don't make good work if I'm suffering. My good work comes after suffering, if anything. But I'm not the type of guy who I'm having hard feelings, and so I'm going to write a song. And honestly, in studio, I really just want everyone to feel really good as best as possible. So some part of that, whatever that is, draws people in, and I think the work has reflected on the thesis, on the philosophy, and I've been fortunate that there's been a lot of really good music that I've had a hand in creating, whatever little bit that is. So, you know, inshallah, there's more.
Do you want to share some of your favorites and why they're your favorites into, creating music?
Yeah. So, I guess I'm most well known for the work that I did with Aware, which started because I went through actually a very hard thing, which was that I had a son who passed away 3 days after he was born. And so I created this project as a way for me to actually musically express my grief, but also my reflections on what it is to be alive. because it wasn't just a morning, it was a kind of a meditation on what it is to, for lack of a better word, be incarnated, to come to the world as a human, experience all the things that we do, and go off onto the next thing. So it was a really beautiful thing, because it was basically, I wanted to work with one of my dear friends, Bogdan Jukic, who's half of Aware. And he was like, hey, there's this guy that I've been working with, I've been playing with, Mati. And we really just sat down and created this music almost in a heartbeat. Like, it went very quickly. It was one of those things where it's like, this is meant to happen right now. We were all on the same page. I brought whatever ideas I had, we played with them, and then we kind of recorded it almost like jazz, where it was less of a, this is how the piece is, this is the song, and more of a, let's explore this. And then I cut out the things that didn't work, and then pieced them together, and then filled in the rest. So I don't know, it's just a beautiful record that I don't get tired of listening to. I take some responsibility for it, certainly. And like, it also really was very miraculous and beautiful, as so many of these things are. So that's the water poem, Heart Takes Flight to Become Born. And now he has wings. And then I wrote a piece that I played myself, Elegy for a Yellow Bird. So those pieces all together make up that EP, or that record. And that's probably my favorite thing that I've done personally. It's the most meaningful to me, just because of what I've gone through, and just how it, I don't know, is just it's the reflection that I would have prayed for, what I would have hoped for. It's more beautiful than I could have imagined.
Yeah, I'm just like envisioning you almost being like a ninja in the studio. You're like, you know where to chop and cut and take it from there, huh?
Yeah, I guess it just like, the music speaks to you. I guess being self-conscious does help, because you're like, oof, that didn't work, and so it's easy to just go, not that, and then what's left hopefully is good. And in this case, we're trained enough musicians and know each other's playing well enough that yeah, it's really, really beautiful.
You feel like
But the truth about that record is we were recording in a concrete flat in Tulum, and it was sweltering hot, and we didn't have our shirts on, and we had to turn the air conditioning on between every take and then turn it back off. And so it was like, the actual visual of it is not nearly as
as beautiful as
pristine
that
as
is,
the audio is. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it was beautiful in its own way, in a sort of sweaty, masculine sort of way. But sensitive boys making music together.
You not find yourself in those positions again?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was just in Tulum, co-producing another project. And it's always like that. It's always, if you're not working in a professional studio, if you're doing this guerrilla recording like I often do, we make concessions physically, and there's a challenge no matter what. It's always interesting, never dull.
Do you feel like your intentions are evolving with whoever you work with, or do you have your own like kind of intention which stays solid in every production?
I I mean, my intention is that I always want to do good work. Um, but what that good work is changes depending on what the music is wanting, what the person is wanting. For some people, their goals are very different. Some people, it's like, look, this is the one record I'm ever going to make. So that has its own criteria. And then there are other people like Snatam. I worked with Ganavia. I've worked with Genevieve Harrison on like some small things. It's a very different thing when the person has a long existing career, as well as, I would say, the pressures of their own history, like the narrative that comes from, this is all the music I've made to this point, and then trying to see and help them arrive to where they are now, so we can make the music of now, rather than the music that is the response to everything else, as if, some intellectual dialogue about like what it should be, rather than what it is. And I try to make what is rather than what they think it should be, which is its own therapeutic thing, right?
Yeah, that's extremely interesting. And could you provide like an example of like how do you actually manage with that?
Yeah. So it's often very clear because an artist will literally say, I just don't know if people are going to like this.
Mm,
That's a great, like, it's very vulnerable, it's very revealing. Um, and the truth of it is, we have no control over what anyone else is going to like or not. Um, we have to trust that whatever we're going to create is going to find the
mm,
people who need to hear it, which is scary when it's your career, right? It's like when there's a financial value that's put on music, on your art, on something that is so vulnerable and tender. It's very different from making code for an app, right? Not to say that a person who's coding isn't putting their heart into it, but it comes across a little differently, right? Um, like, we're literally putting our grief, our love, uh, our conflict, our it's our worries and our joys are all put into our music. Um, and then we're saying, if you don't listen to this, I might not have as much to eat.
mm,
That's a big potential trigger. And even for the musicians who are extremely successful, I think maybe even more so, there's an even bigger worry because they have more to lose potentially, like egoically, um, if people don't like it. So what I really try to do is reaffirm that the thing that people are going to like is the thing that is the most vulnerable and the most authentic. And so, yeah, I know how to produce a pop tune. I can do that. But to me, the brave thing, the interesting thing, is the thing that is as far from performance as possible. It is the more intimate performance, or more intimate offering rather than performance. So, encouraging a singer to sing something as if they were singing it to their baby or to
mm,
themselves as a child as they're going to sleep. Um, though that vulnerability is so much more interesting to me, and is why, like, I don't know if you've heard the Rick Rubin recordings of Johnny Cash at the end of Johnny Cash's life, where they literally recorded in a living room. But the gravitas, the potency of
mm,
what he's offering, because of everything that he's lived through, um, is so much more powerful than going into a studio and saying, these are the tunes that we're going to do. It's like, it's the unassuming, it's the candid uh, capture and
mm.
offering that I think is where the magic is.
Wow. Wow. And in those spaces that you're in and the people you work with and in your production of your own music, like what would you say you're mostly known for? Or like what do people call you? What do people not so label you as, but be like, oh, he's the You know.
I don't know. I don't know what people would call me, but um I would hope that they would say that I'm good at what I do.
Mm.
And sometimes I think that the reassuring thing for myself is when I've done a day in the studio and I can walk away from it going, wow, that was really good. Not necessarily I'm good at this, but just that the whole thing went well. It's a team effort. So, um, it doesn't get the same glory as the lead singer, for sure. There's a lot of behind the scenes work. There's a lot of work that is honestly avoided in in conversation because there are things that I have to confront with people that are so scary.
Mm.
And so ultimately the artist is going to speak about what the product is, probably because that's what people want to hear about. Um, and I think when an artist can do that with something that we've worked on, that's a really good sign for me. Um, but yeah, the truth is that I'm working behind the scenes a lot, and uh, I may not get the verbal recognition that others might, and that's okay. Um, because it's like I'm part of the like. Do you know about like mycelium, like in fungus? So it's like this web, right? And so I am creating the tissue that holds everything together. And hopefully that has a lot of integrity and kindness and love and
Mm.
all the things that become then the seeds, the nutrients for what is being created. So my first record was called The Alchemist's Prayer,
Wow.
and I would actually say that that is what I'm doing.
Mm.
Even though I did that in 2011, I was like 20, 23, 24 years old. Um, and it was just like that felt right at the time. But realistically, that's my job, is like I am praying and creating alchemy to make this intangible thing happen. And I can't tell
Mm.
you how I do it because it's different every single time. Um, I just know somehow that if I show up and listen, um, and soften to each moment, then something good can happen. And then I pray that it will.
Wow. Um, I don't know if you're familiar with Hermetic alchemy, and
Can't say that I am.
so I'm an alchemist, and in Hermetic alchemy, which is alchemy that's based from quite some time ago, but mostly popular within the 1600s and 1700s.
Okay.
There's an aspect where in alchemy they say during the transmutation, while you're doing your alchemy, you pray and
Right.
pray. And so I'm hearing
Right.
you speak this, and I'm getting so touched by hearing you putting the word alchemy and pray together, and it's like it's such a magical combination of what you're sharing. And
Yeah.
I can't help but feel like this immense humbleness just like coming down onto me while you speak and share. And I really want to invite you to speak more about into this aspect that you come in with so much grace almost into all the work that you do. And where did that come from?
Lord knows. I don't know. I I just understand that um I have the skills that I have,
Mm.
and I understand more or less what my challenges are and what my limits are. Um And I understand that participation of multiple people who are resonating on the same level, who are speaking the same language, who are intending. And in this case, I would say like it is praying. You know, that's really what I'm getting at, and not in a God-fearing way. You know, it's just surrendering for the possibility of being helped to the intention that you're trying to serve. When people come together to do that, there are things that are created that are beyond the mathematical sum of our parts. So, and I've just done it so many times. I was raised and trained as a classical musician. Both of my parents are classical musicians. And I played in orchestras from the time I was young through university. And, you know, there's very little that in actual substance, in actual lived reality. I have not experienced many things more divine than playing in an orchestra. And that's 70 people or like 50 to 100 people, depending on which piece you're playing, who are all playing notes that were often written by some guy who died, 200 years ago or more. In your case, in Prague, I actually regularly go to, there's a cemetery where Antonín Dvořák and Smetana were buried, and they're in the same place. And these are two people whose music I've played and experienced, and it's like I can't explain it, but how is it that they could write notes on a page, literal dots and lines, and we can feel things now that they intended back then? That's I don't have a way to explain it, but that's some of my early training in kind of just the mechanics of life and doing this job and making this art and helping people in general. So I recognize that I'm playing a part, and there are things that go in that make it better, and lessons to be learned from that. And I can't take credit but for the part that I play. And if I wasn't playing my part, then it's messed up. I could use a stronger word, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
So it's crucial. It's a big deal, but it's also something bigger than me.
And where do you find yourself, like in the present moment right now, in the stage of your life where you're in all the elements that you shared? Like where are you going with something that you've been working on, or something coming up that's working on, or both?
So actually this weekend, I'm starting new recordings with my bandmates, Sukmani, Greco Burato, and Bruno Giusti. And we are starting the process of recording a new record together. Greco, Sukmani, and I have already recorded one record as a trio. And then we were the band for Snatam Kaur for we've played over like 120 shows together, something like that, since 2018, 2017, something like that. And then Greco got a really, really great gig with a very successful artist named Lionel Richie. And Bruno is the lovely man who replaced him on tour. And so we decided let's make this music together. The truth is I have no idea what it's going to be, other
Mhm.
than we have the intentions. Okay, we know it's going to uh, be in a spiritual vibe because that's what we do.
Mhm.
But the truth is, like, I consider Bach spiritual. I consider Beethoven spiritual. I consider the
Mhm.
Beatles spiritual. So, you know, that's par for the course. It's everything to me. Um, it'll probably fit in a ceremonial space because we're all familiar with that, and that's where a lot of music that I've made has come from and is offered. And beyond that, we'll see what we do. We just try to make the space rich for creation, and then hit record and use our best judgment and listening and offering.
If I hear you correctly, you all just agreed to show up at the studio, and the rest will happen.
Correct. Exactly.
I have a. Do you ask? Would you say that people who show up to where you play music or listen to your production songs or your own music, is that kind of the invitation? Is just come and receive and see what happens?
I think so. I think it has to be because so much of the music that we perform, like with Sonatum, is its mantra. And most of the words are not things that people understand. They're not in a language of the place that we're playing. I don't even fully understand them. Like often we'll have been given a a translation, but you know the effect is again bigger than the words. Um, so yes, exactly. I would hope that in general for music, I hope that people can, not just in the music that I'm playing, but in general, just go show up.
Mhm.
And I feel like that's the lesson in life too, is show up and see what happens. Um, there's a lot of good that can happen from that if you are open to receiving.
It's so beautiful. And if there would be an invitation to someone on the street to say, like, hey, you know, this is the invitation for you to come, what would the invitation sound like?
I think my intention is to let people know that this is healing music
Mhm.
because they will feel something that they haven't been feeling, whether it's relaxation or peace,
Mhm.
serenity, joy. There's the opportunity for how they have been feeling to shift into something that feels better, um, or deeper. If they're already feeling serene and peaceful, bless you. That's great. Come for more. It'll make you feel even better. And that's not to exclude the opportunity to cry and release. And
Mhm.
it's a really safe space to have your feelings. And I feel like if there's one thing that I can do to help the world through my music, it's to give people the opportunity to actually feel what they're feeling, because the resistance of those feelings, I think, is essentially the key to suffering. And if we can just feel our feelings and have those feelings as they happen, then there's a lot better outcome that
Mhm.
will come from that for
Yeah,
all of
that's
us.
good. Yeah. And I felt that when you put that element of ceremony or ceremonialist in what you shared, and just before we come to a close of this beautiful conversation, can you share just like a few moments on what that means for you and what that means for the space around you.
Can you tell me one more time, say one more time
The
what
word
you'd
the
like me
word
to
you
done?
chose for to describe ceremony and ceremonialist.
Ah, ceremony in this case is treating the present moment as something sacred.
Mm.
So it is the opportunity to honor the fact that we have this moment together and to make it beautiful. So there are many, many, many ceremonies, but they are all in honoring of something, and in this case, it would be the present moment of life
Mhm.
itself, of the fact that we get to have this moment, and the fact that we don't know how many moments we get, and so this is a special one, and we are acknowledging that.
Wow. Thank you so much, Ramdas. Thank you so much for coming onto the podcast, and thank you for
Thank you so
sharing.
much, Ali. Thank you.
You're such a humble alchemist and magician, producer, and everything in between as what you are. And yeah, it's just such a pleasure to have this conversation with you. And if you want to share something to your audience about what's coming next, dates, tours, please feel free to share right now.
Thank you, Ali. Yeah, I will be on tour with Snatam Kaur in Europe for the month of April. We are playing in Poland. We're playing in Austria, Linz. We're playing in Amsterdam, Zurich. We are going to Frankfurt or nearby. And I want to say, London, Union Chapel, April 14th. Um, and then I will be coming back with my new project with Sukmani, Greco, Bruno to Europe later this year. Some combination of us depending on the date, but there will be some very beautiful music coming soon.
More magic coming on the way. So
Yeah,
beautiful. Thank
yeah.
you again, Ramdas. What a pleasure
Thanks
to
so
have you
much.
here. Thank you
Truly
so much.
great to meet you.
Same here.